Hello again. There's so much going on at this new moon solar eclipse in Virgo happening on Sunday. I wanted to go in and be very specific about what I mean. I made a video you can check out if you want, but I wanted to share maybe four things, um, technically speaking, that I find really exciting but very challenging at this time. And it's the actual stuff that I am needing help with that I am having to figure out. So lock in because I'm going to be sharing what's going on in my life as well. The very first thing I want to highlight, which I got from my teacher, our emotional wolf, who spoke about this on his YouTube channel, that I only kind of realized and then doubled down on my realization is that, okay, everyone knows this is happening at 29 degrees of Virgo, right? That's the last degree of Virgo, okay? But the last degree of Virgo is in direct opposition right now to the midpoint between Saturn and Neptune. Okay. Saturn and Neptune are in a balsamic conjunction to each other right now, and this is happening until February 21st of 2026. A balsamic conjunction means that it is the end. The cycle is completing itself. This is a 36-year cycle between Saturn and Neptune, and it ends on February 21st of 2026, which means it starts again on February 21st of 2026. Now, I'm a broken record about this. This is the most important transit that we're dealing with right now, in my opinion. Okay. And this new moon solar eclipse happening at the midpoint opposition is like being in Bardo. And it's not just one lunar cycle of Bardo, not just 1 month, but it's 6 months of Bardo for two reasons. Because every 6 months we have an eclipse, and this is the last eclipse in this eclipse season. But And so basically, eclipse will basically set the tone for the next 6 months. But also because what else is happening in 6 months? Saturn Neptune conjunction finally completes itself. Saturn finally catches up and starts moving beyond Neptune. If you're not aware of what's happening with the Saturn Neptune conjunction, this is the Saturn right here is structural reality, laws, culture, governments. Neptune right here is basically a dissolving function. And the last time we had this conjunction happen in the sky, I don't know what year it was, but the Berlin Wall fell. Okay. The Berlin Wall fell. Berlin Wall fell. Do you understand? There are like structural realities that cannot exist anymore that dissolve. Neptune is kind of like Maya, the illusion, the matrix. And Saturn is, oops. Saturn's our capacity to manifest. Okay. Neptune is limitlessness. It's possibility. But that does not equal reality. Neptune is so expanded that it is not even data points. If you've heard of anything like the Akashic records, that's Uranus. Uranus is the Akashic records, okay? And the difference between Neptune and Uranus is that Neptune is everything indiscriminately, okay? You could say collective conscious, collective unconscious. Uranus is the individuated conscious or unconscious, which means it's specific, okay? Not to mention right now Uranus is in Gemini, so we seriously are in the Akashic records. We have a library of infinite access to information right now. That's another story. Although it's a very big part of the story right now, which I'll try to break down. But going back to Saturn, Neptune, if you think about it, in any phase is about how we are able to make dreams reality. And since we are at the end of a 36-year cycle of making dreams reality, we have to like watch the sandcastle that we built go back into the ocean. Okay, that's the vibe. And don't get me wrong, this can feel and is feeling straight up apocalyptic because what can you rely on right now with Saturn? Whole bunch of nothing, right? Um, you know, and this is where it's really important and interesting to figure out where this is showing up in your chart specifically, okay? And I'm going to double down on that because this new moon solar eclipse is incredibly relational, incredibly relational. And every person, based on where this stuff is showing up in your chart, you're going to be identifying more or much less with any one of these kind of planetary actors that we see on the screen here. Now, if you're a Pisces rising like me, you're going to be identifying with this very much. But let's say you're a Virgo rising. You're going to be identifying with this, this, this a lot more. Do you see what I mean? So figure out where this is showing up in your chart. But I would also say, think about how you would describe yourself right now. And think about how you show up to other people. Because regardless of where this shows up in your chart, this new moon solar eclipse is ruled by two planets. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is right here. But Mercury right now is being ruled by Venus. Venus is also in Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury. So we have what's called a mutual reception. That means, from my perspective, that both Venus and Mercury are ruling this eclipse. Okay? Now, putting this Saturn Neptune stuff aside for now, this is an incredibly relational new moon in Virgo, and you're speaking to me or you're listening to me. I'm a Pisces rising, which means this is happening in my seventh house, which means the lunar eclipse that we had earlier at 7, or what degree was it? Sorry, it was like 14 degrees of, we had a full moon lunar eclipse at 14 degrees of Pisces, and that was in my first house. Okay. Which is a big reason why I am emphasizing like figure out, are you playing the Pisces role right now or are you playing the Virgo role right now? You don't, you're not limited to that, but I do think because of how relational this time is, it's good to know what role you're playing, okay? So off the bat, everybody, I'm playing this role. And I'm gonna tell you more about this in a minute because I had a really powerful experience September 7th That's when we had that full moon lunar eclipse. So think back to what happened on September 7th for you, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I want to explain why this is really relational. And I'm going to start with Virgo, Venus. Um, there's two things I want to say about Venus and Virgo. Number one is just to kind of explain what Venus and Virgo is. Venus, anywhere in any sign, is where you're open. That's it. It's very easy. Where you're naturally open, and everyone's going to be naturally open to something. It's kind of like open. It's basically like in your fractal pattern, in your aura, what are you naturally going to be a match to? Okay. In the transiting chart, this is going to be true for all of us. In our natal chart, we have a natal Venus. So these two things are into play, but think about it. Venus is just where you're open. Okay. It's where you're naturally receptive. It's what you like because you're open to it. You like it. You enjoy it. Venus is about enjoyment and balance and openness, kindness. Like there's just Venusian qualities, okay? Venus is where you're open. That's how I put it. Virgo is going to describe what we're open to right now. Virgo is attention. This is going to sound kind of funny, but basically, since Venus moved into Virgo today, September 19th, we are open to someone's attention. We're open to the attention coming into us. We are being receptive to someone else's attention, literally, okay? Today, September 19th, the moon actually crossed into Virgo at the same time as Venus, pretty much. As I said, I'm going to talk about myself a little bit today. I got a message from someone. This is technically in my sixth house, um, but it's very close to my seventh house. Any case, I got a message from someone that I wasn't expecting to get a message from, right? That's someone's attention. I'm being open to someone's attention, literally probably on the hour that the moon crossed Venus into Virgo, both of them moved into Virgo, I got a message from someone's attention coming on me. I didn't expect, okay? Feeling very eclipsy, yes, okay? Now, because of this mutual reception, we're not simply being navel gazy here, okay? We're not expecting everyone to just come to us because Venus is ruled by Mercury in Libra. And Mercury in Libra is all about an exchange of balance. Libra is about balance. Okay, it's like the scales. I don't know how to draw a scale, right? Um, but that implies that something has been out of balance, right? In order, like Mercury in Libra rolls around when it's time to have diplomatic conversations with people. Okay, so what's the imbalance? I'll go to that in a minute, but just to go back to this Venus here, we are open to other people's attention, but we are also exchanging our attention. We're giving that to other people too right now. And then it's a feedback loop. Okay. So that is ruling this Virgo new moon, this dynamic between Mercury and Venus. Mercury is also about exchange and the exchange of balance. So let me move on to this piece of what are we balancing out? And what I think we're balancing out is all the stuff I talked about at the beginning here, this. Because wherever you're feeling this in your life, whether you're feeling like you're embodying this dissolving of structure area, or something outside of you seems to be dissolving, um, it's happening and it's huge. Okay, I don't even need to begin to express politically in governments. The other thing I want to say about the times that we are in, um, very briefly on this idea of politics and governments. Socially, we are in a supercharged time. That's because we have a grand trine being activated between Pluto and Aquarius, which is the People's Revolution. We have Uranus in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, which I mentioned. basically like Akashic records. If you don't know what that is, Uranus in Gemini is like liberating data, technology, and data. I don't have to explain this to you. You know what this is, okay? AI, blah, 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 technology, blah, blah, blah. And then you can immediately see how AI and technology is feeding in this exchange to Pluto, not only because Uranus rules Aquarius, but because they're in this trine to each other. So the People's Revolution being made possible by liberating our minds, liberating technology. But this new moon solar eclipse happens at 29 Virgo, which is 1 degree away from the first degree of Libra. Okay, that's an air sign. And that essentially brings us into a grand trine with the air signs. The grand trine with the air signs is one of the most like, it makes making things possible more possible than ever, like actually making things work. And especially because Neptune Saturn is happening and like structures are dissolving. We're in a time between the veils, okay? And anyone's agenda can take off. Okay, this is a kite. Woo, right? Anyone's agenda can take off here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's why you see everyone winning. Everyone has a little bit of hope right now, even if all of your attention's going to the other side or to something you dislike. It's very important for you to maintain your attention and for you to discern and decide where you're putting your consciousness. Because as I said, Virgo is attention. And where your energy goes, where your attention goes, energy flows. So everyone has equal opportunity to create a reality right now. That's it. Okay. The more you look at the thing you don't want to be happening, it's going to happen. So you need to be holding your heart, using your attention to be creating what you want to see, to be going where you want to go. And I'm not saying that's easy. Okay. But the opportunity is crazy now. It's so possible. We can forget it's so possible. But this solar eclipse in Virgo is really saying you decide. You're deciding where your energy goes, what that builds, because it clocks you into this massive social opportunity. It's a social opportunity, it's an intellectual opportunity, it's an opportunity to change how you think, it's an opportunity to change who you hang out with, to change humanity on its own, to change thinking patterns, completely liberate, like, and then to change who you spend most of your one-on-one time with based on how you're giving them your attention, how you devote to them, how you allow them to devote themselves to you, and how you are having conversations with them. Like, I know this sounds really basic, but it is, right? Like that's the idea of this trine. It's so possible right now. It's so overwhelmingly possible right now. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to be clear about. Anyone can do anything, which includes you. So, like I said, the first thing you should figure out right now is who you are. And I think um, it can be very clear from your chart, as I'm saying, if you're a Pisces rising like me, you're going to be playing the role of this guy right here, which means you might show up a little bit unstable to other people. Um, you might show up like some type of, I don't want to say spiritual authority, but like, I don't know, you know, this Pisces stuff is just, you can't put your finger on it. Okay, are you that or are you like kind of more relationally focused right now with this Venus Mercury stuff? You could also be this Mars. Um, But just place where you are, place where you think this is showing up for you. Think about it on your own, and then maybe place it on the chart if you have the bandwidth to do that. You might also be very Uranian right now. There's so many different ways to cut this, okay? But all of that said, um, let me make a few more points here. So, firstly, incredibly relational eclipse. Whether you're down here or you're up here or you're here, you could also be here. Like, incredibly relational eclipse. Simply because of the rulership, because of this sextile between Venus and Mars also, which I have a video on this, go check it out. Um, there's three different things, three different areas of this chart that are pointing to very hands-on adjustments that we need to make at this time. And let me go through the three with you. There's three yods. A yod looks like this. You've got planet A here making an inconjunct to planet B, and then you also have planet C making an inconjunct to the same planet A. So you can call planet A as the apex point. And we really need to focus on the apex point. And this is where we are changing ourselves. C and B are going to be kind of like pressures that are like asking us to change. Okay. So let's go through. Let me go show you what the three are. There's three apex points. The first apex point is Venus. We have another apex point at Mars, and then we have another apex point at Saturn, Uranus. And you'll see Saturn, Uranus, my God, Saturn, Neptune is the common denominator between these three. I'll show you. Which is why I think I spent a lot of time breaking it down, because this Saturn, Uranus is really where we need to linger our attention, which really is trying to tell us to stop doing things in the old way and to let things end. Okay? It doesn't mean don't start something new, right? This is a solar eclipse after all. It's a new moon. It is on the south node, which is another indication of the past. And it is at 29, which does mean the completion, okay? But this doesn't mean don't do something new. It means step into something new that helps you resolve the past now. Maybe something you should have done or wanted to do, but didn't feel ready to do until now. Okay. These three yods. The first, as I said, Venus is here. Pluto and Venus are in an inconjunct to each other. And then Venus is also in an inconjunct to Saturn, Neptune. That's number one. All right. Number two, we have Mars. Mars is in an inconjunct to Saturn, Neptune, also in an inconjunct to Uranus in Gemini, which this was my point about like Akashic records. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. Okay. And the third, which you might already be able to guess, is here. And we have Neptune, Saturn in an inconjunct to Venus and Mars. Okay. So let me go back. There's so many adjustments that we need to make right now, and they have everything to do with basically us having faith in the present moment above anything else. Like we have to really stop doing things for future success. We have to do things because they're helping us right now and because we can do them right now. Okay? Here's a funny thing I wanted to talk about. This, I think I said before, I'm not sure if I did. I've done a few takes of this. But anyway, this 29-degree solar eclipse is happening at the exact midpoint, oops, between Saturn and Neptune, okay? And I want to take us back to right, this is 29, this is 28, and 0. This is the exact midpoint between Saturn and Neptune. Saturn and Neptune make that conjunction in 6 months. So we have we're in this Bardo period, and then we start another Bardo period within this Bardo period of this new beginning in the past. And I wanna take you back to something very tangible, which was the 14-degree Pisces lunar eclipse that happened on September 7th. Okay. I'm going to make some space here. I'll talk about these odds more in a minute, but I want to circle back around here. And I made a video about this, but firstly, the lunar eclipse happened before the South Node, which means we came into a full realization about something that we hadn't finished yet, basically. It was something about our future, so it's much more future thinking, but we hadn't finished it yet. But we only we came to a full culmination, but about something in the past, right? There was something incomplete. So as that day chugged along into September 8th, the moon had moved basically to here by 2 p.m. on September 8th. This is Pacific Standard Time. I don't know about you, but my experience between September 7th, whatever it was, 11 a.m. was the full moon eclipse. September 7th to September 8th, I had a dream that evening, which would have been about here, once the moon passed the North Node. I had a dream about someone from my past that was so compelling. Like it just did so much to me that I woke up in a daze. And I woke up and I couldn't pull myself out of this dream. Even after I was awake, I could not pull myself out literally until 2 p.m., until the moon passed Neptune. Okay? Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this space between Neptune and Saturn that's being activated by this opposition, okay? That's the feeling that I think we're going to be having potentially for 6 months, okay? I am afraid. No, I'm not. But it's like the exact thing, which was my dream, a relationship for me that, right? A relationship, Mars, Venus. I had a big relationship that really changed basically in from around Feb 2024. Now go watch my Venus sextile Mars video and I'll go into more of this in more specific detail. You can figure it out for your own life. But basically Feb 2024, these Venus Mars were together, made a conjunction with Pluto. Something started at this point that had to die. And now we're at this sextile, we can kind of understand why, okay? And it's the understanding of why. You can see it's also enclosing this eclipse, this relationship for me, right? By the way, I'm a Pisces rising, which means this Virgo eclipse is in my 7th house, obviously. But the whole point of this dream for me is really not the person, right? This is about me. This is about the solar eclipse in Pisces, my 1st house. It's what this person meant to me symbolically, something I needed to create space for in my life and my own expression of life and not project it out to this person to be the manifestation of this energy for me anymore. I needed to become big enough to hold this. And I think that's been my work. But nonetheless, I have a lot of work to do still. And so I had this lunar eclipse dream in Pisces, and it put me in this Bardo period for about a day, right? from 11 a.m. September 7th to 2 p.m. September 18th. And this evening, or it might have been, I forgot when the dream was, but I think it was at least this evening, September 7th. And then I woke up in a daze and was in a daze all day September 8th. Okay. So basically, and I just think that this opposition point, this eclipse that we're going into now, is gonna do something in this realm. Um, the minimum is we are starting solar eclipse, new moon is a beginning point. We are starting to pay attention to Virgo is about attention, which is devotion, sincere devotion, um, something in our past that we have not fully embodied for ourselves yet. And I think it has something to do with God, creativity, this North Node in Pisces. And it has to do with the fact that we needed to dissolve so much structural reality to make space for higher consciousness, higher truth to come into our lives through whatever way, right? This doesn't have to be through woo for everyone. I think for a lot of people, this has to do with art. This has to, for me, it's so much to do with painting and art. It's not just astrology and stuff, but it is like my relationship to a consciousness beyond myself. Okay. Spoiler alert. One day I'm going to quit astrology because um, we are soul. Okay. Soul is not from Earth. Okay. All of astrology is like earthbound. And there's part of us that's not from here, that's not bound by that. And that's where we get our free will. So I am of the opinion that we can transcend our astrology, but that's for another time. Um, I just wanted to make that clear. Let's go back to these yods. Um, okay. Um, you see how important Saturn Neptune is, okay? And however that's showing up in your personal life. Don't think about politics or life outside. This is a deeply spiritual, deeply contemplative time for you to be considering in your life, okay? Um, I don't want to go and go into everything here because it gets like way too nitpicky. And ironically, Virgo is like super nitpicky, but it's funny because this is the 29th degree of Virgo, it's like this is the beginning of the end of Virgo. And it's much more so about exchanging devotion in a relationship than anything else at this new moon. Exchanging devotion in a very spiritual relationship that might have blown your socks off a little bit. Um, and realizing that it's not the relationship itself, but it is what it symbolizes, right? Pisces like doesn't exist, okay? Pisces is like, you know, it doesn't exist until it steps into Aries. You need to breathe life into it, and then you need to focus on it and decide what it is. So what I'll say about these yods is that if something is pushing you into action at this time, act. And I mean through every minutia. So my life. I'm I think I need to move, okay? But there's many pieces of this that I feel insecure about. Many, many, many pieces. So instead of um stopping myself until I'm ready to not be insecure anymore, or like basically wait for the insecurities to leave because I have all the proof that I need. I'm actually just talking to more people about my insecurity. I'm talking to more people about the options. I'm seeing many more options than just the one option that I initially am seeing, but I'm seeing how moving forwards towards this is very important and very expansive and opening. But I can't emphasize enough just how much more people are around to talk to about this now in my life. And I encourage everyone to not do things on their own. So much emphasis on the Aries stuff over the last few months with Neptune and Saturn both in Aries. It's like a hyper self-reliance, and you don't need to. So when I say like make the adjustments, I mean make the minor adjustments. Oh my God, what is that? You don't need to rush into major adjustments. Take as many minor adjustments you need until you feel really good about the major ones. But that means you have to make the minor adjustments, okay? You can't, like, you have to speak. You have to send the text message. You have to, like, ask for help, or you're never going to move forward. This is such a relational, social time, okay? So relational, so social. Um, but we are still getting something from the past here. Venus has not crossed the south node. Venus moves this way, south node moves that way. Venus will cross the south node on October 4th, which is just a few days before the full moon in Aries on October 7th. Full moon's going to be right around here. But Venus being on the past the south node at that point, we will finally feel, I genuinely feel, October 4th is the day, is the day that we're going to feel like all the adjustments were worth it because we finally made ourselves open to move beyond the past. Like we made ourselves open to something new. Because I think up until this point, we're so used to making ourselves open to the past, to the same attention that it's shown up in the past, but we need to update how we are open. And I don't think that's going to happen until Venus crosses the South Node on October 4th. But I do think that we at least know now what the minor adjustments are that are going to get us into this new beginning. And then this full moon is very close to Chiron in Aries. And so this full moon on Chiron in Aries, October 7th, is going to be entirely about seeing the limitations of the way we walk around with our wounds and how relationship and being open to a new phase of relationships, other people, is the whole point. Okay, there's some other really big things that I want to talk about that have to do with Saturn, Neptune, and specifically the sextile between Pluto and Neptune, but I'm going to save that for another day. I hope this makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer. But I'm curious how this time has been for you. And I hope you have a very powerful new moon. I really hope that we do not get stuck in Bardo period, like I think we might. But I kind of do. There's something very alluring about that space. So yeah, if you also had that experience at the full moon, I want to know at the lunar eclipse that was on September 7th. And Yeah, also let me know if you know who you are in this play of people, of embodiments, right? Are you feeling more Neptune, Saturn? Are you feeling more Uranus? Are you feeling more Virgo? Like, as I said, I'm a Pisces rising, so I'm very, but Jupiter, my son's at 17, so I'm feeling pretty good too with Jupiter. Okay, that's all. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching. Bye.